The water.
Let's roll.
Hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy December 15th. We're 2 weeks from the end of the year and excited to see all your beautiful faces.
How do I remove the video?
What's going on, guys?
Welcome.
Yeah, Cody, remove your video, man. You're a videographer, man. You should know this. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Jennie.
Hey, how's it
What's up, Eric?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Robert. Thanks for putting your cameras on. We love to make this interactive if you're not driving. And even if you're eating, like we love to see your faces face to face. It just a lot of non-social interaction face to face. So this is the best we can do here with everything. Hello, Jamila. Heard you had a great conversation with Calvin today. And Rick was my first mentor. Hello. Hi, Audrey. Hi, Dan. Glad you can both join. I know you guys are eating, but it's always good to see your faces.
More importantly, it's good to know what you're eating because then, we can get jealous. So that's all it is. What is that? Corn dog? Okay, so it's like
It's cutting me off.
it's my imagination's going wild. I saw hog dog's ice cream cone, corn dog.
It's an ice cream. Am I?
Oh,
No.
nice.
Ooh.
Oh, a wafer ice cream cone. Whoa.
Love it.
Like 2 snacks in one.
Hey, Chad. Hi, Sonia. I know we spoke a year ago, Sonia. So. Perfect. Welcome, Patty. Hi, Crystal. Is Alan joining today too? Awesome. Welcome. Hey, Dean. Hey, Manal. Hello. Awesome. Perfect. Dustin's here too. Nestor. Hi. Hi. Hopefully Ling, I think Ling is on separately. So good you guys separated to be more focused. Perfect. Welcome, Stephanie. Great. I'll get started in a few minutes just to let everyone come in. But while we have in the chat, I know we have people from all around the country here. So just post where you're from in the chat. New York City, awesome. Seattle, Bay Area,
What's up, Taylor?
Utah, San Francisco, Elk Grove, Minneapolis. That's a great investment area for out of state. So definitely we'll need to connect Patty with some people over. Out of Bay Area, Atlanta. I know Google is opening a headquarters out there and for a second campus out there. So a lot of transition, good investment area. Houston has been popping. Burlingame, Ripon, Bay Area, San Francisco. Love it. Love where everyone is from. South San Francisco, great. My first investment, first house hack that we'll share some stories was in South San Francisco. We're actually doing an Airbnb investment out there too. And we're getting about $8,000 a month on that Airbnb. So love to share that. Omaha, Nebraska. Awesome. I don't think I've never ever met anyone from Omaha, Nebraska yet. So great to meet you, Stephanie.
Except for Warren Buffett, I think lives in Omaha, Nebraska. That McDonald's is probably popping.
I haven't met Warren Buffett yet, but that will be an item. Let's go. San Diego, beautiful, sunny San Diego area. Hayward, California. Great. Perfect. Bay Area. And anyone who's coming in, if you guys are able to put your video on, it's always great for us to see your faces in person. And unless you're driving, so drive safely, but thank you for hopping on while driving, learning things on the road, taking all that content. When Calvin and I first started real estate investing, we had an hour commute to Oracle. So we would listen to a lot of Bigger Pockets and different podcasts on 2x, 2.5x speed to learn as much as possible. So today we're here to share that knowledge with you guys.
The only thing is you can't put us on 2x speed. So
not right now.
Stuck with us now.
I'm from New York originally as well too. So I do talk pretty fast. Welcome, Shastine. Hi, Samantha. Hi, Anna. Hi, Brad. Hey, Razul. Tom Tran, our famous flipper in the Bay Area.
Tom, what's up, man?
We have a great variety of people here. And then if you guys want to just chime in, like, why are you here? What are some of the things that you want to learn today and invest in goals of 2022?
All right, not all at once, guys. Come on.
Looking forward to learning more of your guys' ways and what you guys have put into place to accumulate the portfolio that you had. I have some big dreams about that myself, so looking forward to learning.
Hey,
Oh yeah, Taylor.
there.
Good seeing you, man.
You guys too.
So for me, I like to share my goal. I love Target. Calvin knows like I go to Target a lot. So I want to buy eventually a complex with a Target in it. So that is our next year goal.
I can just drop her off there and then we get to go for the whole day.
Yes. And then Caleb said, accelerating the process to go from one property to many and scaling. Love that. We started just 5.5 years ago with 0 properties, and now we're at 155 plus doors, and we've helped over 100 students this past year to purchase their first property or first investment. So really excited to get you to, the first one is sometimes the hardest, but then you're going to get the bug and be like, I want to buy more. It gets a little addicting. Eric Santos, I just started with the program, so I want to learn as much as I can. Perfect. Well, welcome to the Zen Coast University family. Then Stephanie, I'm downloading blur background so I can show my face. Awesome. And then Miranda said, save for a wedding. Love that. And yeah, we'll share some of the stories when we go in, but as we're waiting to start, just like using each investment property for a purpose. Hey, this is going to be our wedding fund. We're going to buy this, and then the appreciation, we'll be able to do a cash out refinance and pull that equity out and pay for the wedding. Or this will be my first child's college education tuition. So be able to have that and then refinance, and then they'll have monthly income coming in to pay for their books or beer money or whatever that they to really enjoy college and life. Buy first apartment, first property, buying first apartment complex, and then starting portfolio. And a lot of people starting to buying their first investment properties. So we're definitely going to go and share. Today is about talking about our goals and how we got to where we are and sharing our secrets out there.
Yeah. And I think a big part, I mean, right now, guys, I mean, we're what, a week away from Christmas. I mean, I know when I was still working my W-2, it was like, oh, week before Christmas. All right, turning everything down. I'm in chill mode for the rest of the year. Let's go. But you guys are here with us on a Wednesday. It feels like midnight because it gets dark at like 4 p.m. now. And, you know, just to learn about, you know, how you can make 2022 the best year ever. And yeah, I think goal setting, we're going to go through real estate updates as well, but even just goal setting and just taking this time to really just take a step back. I know a lot of high achievers right now. I mean, it's hard to like just take a pause in life. I know I'm like one of those people where if I take a pause, I go crazy. I'm like, oh, I gotta go do more. But it's great to just take that pause and just take a step back and say, all right, what do I really want? Like, what's my target here? And I know Jennie and I, we just did a little mini goal retreat on Sunday where we just went through, we just got newly married. So, you know, what's our vision for our marriage? Like, what does that look like? And asking some hard questions about, all right, like this is, you know, where I think we need to communicate more on, or this is, you know, where I think we're really strong on. And, you know, things like that, just outside of real estate. I know you guys are all here for real estate, but I mean, again, it's just a vehicle, just like money is to really live, you know, a whole life of fulfillment, right? And that includes family, that includes fitness, your faith, your philanthropy, all that stuff that we're going to go through today. So yeah, Jen, what do you think? Should we get started or?
Let's get started.
All right, let's rock and roll. All right, everyone can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up, yeah? All right, sweet, let's roll. Then you wanna go over the agenda?
Perfect. So we're gonna go over who we are, give you a little more background of Jennie Locke and Calvin Chin, and how we can unlock your potential or unchin your potential, whichever one you decide. And then Why we should invest in real estate in 2022, a reflection of the year and some of our investments that we've done personally, and then setting goals with an intention, and then really taking action. What are some of the next steps? Because there might be a lot of analysis paralysis, and you are going on these webinars and learning or listening to books, but how can we really take action and have someone to be accountable for your goals? So that's what we're going to dive in today. And just some of the house rules. We're here to really learn and grow with one another. And if you're able to, if you're not driving, be present and on camera. It gives us a lot more energy, and it makes it fun for everyone in the room too. And then use emojis, hearts, the claps. If you don't know, it's on the reactions bottom next to share screen that you can put that in. And then type questions in the chat. So we will have a Q&A at the end, but we will be monitoring if the question is particular to what we're going over, we'll answer the question there. So we want to make this fun and very interactive with everyone.
Yep. And don't worry about taking notes, guys. Like, we're going to have this recording in our Facebook group. So if you're not part of our free Facebook group already, Audrey's going to drop the link in the chat, join it. We're going to have the recording on there as well. So you can go back, watch us on 2x speed if you want to, while you're driving to work.
So first, I'll go in and give a little background of who I am, and then Calvin will dive in. So I started in corporate, worked at Oracle. It's a large tech company, not Oracle Arena or Oracle Park, where the baseball team or the former basketball team used to play there, but Oracle technology. And I was working 9-to-5 job in getting a W-2, made great income, hit my 6 figures in my early 20s, but was not really satisfied. And we signed up for a real estate coaching program and started listening to a lot of books. My first goal was to buy a house at 28 years old. And I was able to fast track that with the knowledge that I learned, and bought my first house at the age of 23 years old. And that house in South San Francisco, I started with house hacking and rented out rooms, and that actually paid for all of the mortgage. A few of you girls or guys have been in that house. I know Audrey and Miranda, we've been in that house, and everything was paid off for by my tenants, who are really happy to have a nice, comfortable home to live in. And now that house is being converted to an Airbnb, and we're probably projecting $7,000 to $10,000 per month in income from that. But the great thing is that the appreciation from there, I bought that house for $870,000 about 5 years ago, and now it's worth about $1.4 million. And last year I did a cash out refinance on that and pulled out $300,000 of equity to be able to buy other investments. So how do you have your money moving for you? And we actually bought this property with a home equity line of credit from my parents' house. So it was all borrowed bank money, and we didn't have any of our own money in the deal. And it was all from the bank and leverage, and using it as an investment vehicle to keep it progressing and moving forward on. And then I realized, okay, how do I buy more properties? I bought a investment property in Alabama for $67,000 and sold that last year for $120,000. So that was great growth, almost 2x. And I was like, okay, how do I buy more? So then I realized, okay, let me just become a real estate agent and help people buy homes and be in the field full time, and was awarded 30 under 30 National Association Realtors, and been able to help this year over 100 families and go through that. I see a lot of past clients that we've helped. So Dustin and Ling and some others here. I know there's a big group, Crystal and everyone. We're excited to help you not only get your first home, but how do we transition that equity to grow into other investments? And then I'll have Calvin introduce himself.
Yeah, dang, mic drop. All right, well, everything Jennie just said, that's it. Okay. But yeah, I mean, some background on myself too, for everyone that doesn't know me. I mean, I'm the other half of Jennie. I'm her now husband. But, you know, I think growing up, you know, it was always taught to me that kind of more like of a scarcity mindset around money, right? It was always like, don't lose it, afraid to lose it, like save. And, you know, I was always taught, you know, just by society in general was, you know, get good grades, to get into a good school, to get into a good job, and then climbed the corporate ladder until, I was 65 and had 2.5 kids and a golden retriever and a white picket fence. Right. And that's what I did. Right. That's what I thought was the right path. I worked really hard to get good grades. I didn't, but I worked hard to get it. Got into a pretty decent school, got a great job out of college, and met Jennie at Oracle. And I thought, my path was to climb and become a VP of sales one day and keep on climbing and climbing and climbing. And that's what I did. But then I realized, I was like, man, like, this can't be what this is all about, right? Just work really hard all day long and, spend my energy and my time, working for someone else. And like, what is my legacy after that? What's my purpose? Like, on my tombstone, my deathbed, is it read like worked for 25 years at Oracle, went to 25 President's Clubs? Like, that to me just felt really unfulfilling in life. And, I wanted to know, like, hey, when I had a family, I wanted to have both my time and energy back. So, what we started doing is, when I met Jennie, and, I'm thankful for meeting her. She really, changed my mindset around, how to actually do that, right? How to find vehicles. And, what we did was we looked at stocks, we looked at cryptocurrency, we looked at real estate. For stocks, like, we don't sit at the board of Apple, so we don't make any decisions. So we didn't love that because we had no control. Cryptocurrency, I couldn't tell you what the heck it is, but I know my Coinbase account had a glitch and it said we had $114 million in our Coinbase account, but still don't know what it is to this day. But real estate, we looked into and we're like, oh, this actually makes sense, right? There's logic to this. It's been around since there were lords and knights, right? Lords were just landlords, right? So it's something that we can actually tangibly touch. So that's what we looked at. So saved up enough money to house act. Jennie had bought her place in South City and house act. I bought a condo in the city and house hacked that. And then Jennie did the ultimate house hack and just moved in with her boyfriend and didn't pay any rent, which is the best house hack that you can do. But yeah, and that's really how we got started in real estate. But it's always cool to see the iceberg outside of the water, right? And see all the cool stuff and all the accolades and all the accomplishments. But one thing that I want to share with everyone here is that I think in the very beginning for us, we kind of had a doubt about ourselves, about our confidence in knowing how to even invest in real estate. And I know a lot of you had put in the chat that I'm here to try to find my first real estate investment. And so we were, and so were we. And one of the things that we did were, because we were still like, I don't know if we can do this. We had self-doubt, we had fear about it. We were like, all right, let's go seek another investor and give them money and see how that works out. And so we did. We found an investor. She was pitching a flip deal in San Francisco, and we were a private money lender on that flip deal. And the flip went okay. We were supposed to make a little bit of a profit, not much, but it was a good learning lesson. But when we went to the closing table to pick up our check, this investor said, hey, actually, I don't have the money. You actually moved your money to a development project out of state, and without even asking us. And it was like a moment, like what the F moment. And, that was Jennie, like 6 years ago now. And, we haven't seen the money or talked to her since. And it was a really painful learning lesson, right? And there was really two things that we could have done there. One, we could have said, man, this real estate thing sucks. There are a lot of sharks out there that are trying to take advantage of people. And we don't want to do this anymore. And we'll just work our 9 to 5 until we retire and have the white picket fence and golden retriever and 2.5 kids. But what we did instead, which I'm really grateful for, was we said, man, this situation really sucks, but what's the learning lesson here, right? And we learned a crap ton. And I look back now, 6 years ago, and I'm like, that is one of the best things that ever happened to us, right? Because it taught us so many valuable lessons about not even just real estate, but about life, right? And how to process with people and interact with people and how to protect yourself and things like that. And that taught us in our next deal. I mean, my first deal was in Dallas, Texas, right? And we just by ourselves. And hey, we still made mistakes, right? Well, we took action, and guess what? We learned from those mistakes. In the second deal that we did, we didn't make the same mistakes again, right? And the third deal we didn't make the same mistakes, right? We learned every single time and gained confidence that we're, doing BRRRRs, and then we were doing, apartment complexes and then Airbnbs and things like that. And, eventually scaled our portfolio to what it is right now, which is, I think, I can't do complete math, which I guess is maybe good or bad, but I think we're going to be like 167 units by the end of this year. And, but I don't say that just say, hey, cool, look at us, look how awesome it is. What I do want to say is that it's not just about the unit count. It's not just about the money or the passive income and things like that. And one thing that we learned early on was, I think was it 2019, Jennie, we always have this goal, right? And a lot of people that are in real estate, they listen to Bigger Pockets or they're in other blogs like that. There's always this goal of, if I can get to $10,000 a month of passive income, that'd be set, right? And for us too, that was also the goal, right? And in 2019, we'd hit that goal, and my expectations. And Jennie, it's pretty funny. My expectations were cool. We hit that. The clouds would part, angels would come down, and they'd sing, "Oh, like, good job, you guys did it. You're successful. You guys are awesome. You should be happy now," right? And that wasn't the case, right? I mean, I think everyone thinks that that's the case, that, oh, once you hit that money thing, you'll be happy. And for us, the next day happened and nothing changed, and the next day happened and nothing changed. And at least for me, Jennie's always happy. For me, I kind of went in this like 3-month kind of like depression of being complacent and being comfortable, right? I was eating Cheetos on the couch, watching whatever Netflix show, Tiger King, or whatever it was at the time, not doing anything because I didn't have a purpose, right? And there's a really good book called The Second Mountain, where it really goes over, what's that second mountain for you? And really that second mountain is all about legacy, right? It's all about impact. And that's what we were missing, right? And, to kind of sum up everything on a bow is like, that's why we created, our, Zen Coast University, was to help people, learn about real estate investing so that they can create passive income for themselves, but then throw the rope back down to create passive impact for other people in their community, right? Their families, their church communities, their network, right? And then there's this compound effect that, to me at least, gets me juiced up, gets me excited about life, gets me, amped to wake up in the morning and do what we do. So yeah, that's our background. And, we're looking forward to having this session with you guys and kind of going more into depth about, who we are as people and, how we can help you guys in your journey.
And thank you for sharing that. And one of our big missions that we really strive for is to help people create passive income so that they can create passive impact in their communities, as Calvin mentioned. And for us, like, I'm first generation in America. My parents were immigrants. They worked here, like they moved to the US when they were in their 20s, not speaking English, and work in a clothing factory sewing clothes for a couple dollars or so per hour, less than minimum wage. They work 12 to 14 hours a week and 7 days a week. And now it's more like six days a week, maybe more, 12 hours per week. But I remember, like, as a young kid, I did not, I had to like cook dinner. We didn't even eat until like 11 p.m. or so, until my parents got home. So that's something where want to really change that and create that legacy. Like, for another thing that I've actually learned from my first mentor, Rick Hugh, which I know Jamila knows, is that we want to really level out the playing field. We did not have trust funds. Like, we don't have multi-million dollars that are just going to be passed down to us. So how are we going to level out the playing field and really be able to play by the rules of what the government has to play here for us? And there's a lot of governmental tax benefits in investing in real estate. So what can apply back in like our back in our home country in China will not apply here. So in here, it's like really understanding what these rules are, what inflation is, how money is being printed, where to invest in, to be able to save on taxes, be able to create that legacy for your kids and your future, so that we can have multi-millions or hundreds of millions to pass on if we wanted to, but also to enjoy life too, of all that hard work, and be able to do what we want with whoever we want, whenever we want, with the people that we love. And that's where want to really praise every single one of you guys on Wednesday night towards the holidays. You can probably watch a romantic comedy on Christmas holiday on the Hallmark Channel or Netflix, or going out there to Christmas parties and stuff. But you're out here spending your Wednesday evening with us to learn. So just want to thank you for all for coming, and thank yourself for investing in yourself for this next hour and a half.
Yeah. And really what this all means, guys, what Jennie was kind of mentioning too, it's not just about, how can real estate make you millions of dollars, right? Sure. Can it do that? Absolutely. But that's not what this is all about, right? I mean, one of my mentors has really been, telling me about really the law of economics in general. And that, what that states is, it's not about how you can make $1 million, right? The law of economics states that it's an exchange of value. If you're giving value, then you will get value back no matter what. Maybe it's monetary, maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's something that is just something that makes you feel good, and that's equal enough to that. But, I think the mission for us, it's like, hey, how can we help people create passive income so they can create passive impact in their communities? Well, it's to make $1 million. Hey, you got to help 100 people make $1 million, right? It's not just, I want to make $100 million. No, I want to help 100 people make $1 million. And intrinsically, the value that comes back to me, maybe it is monetary, but maybe it's just, hey, it just makes me feel good as a person, as a human being, as an authentic person to be able to do that. And then it goes just back to, all right, well, what does that $1 million do for you? Right. And we're going to touch that really deeply when we talk about our goal setting today. And I know in the next 90 minutes or, 120 minutes, however long you'll have us for, because we can talk all day long if you guys know us, we're going to share as much as we can. Right. And I know some of you guys are going to take this information, you're going to roll up your sleeves and say, let's freaking go. Right. And it's going to make a huge impact in your business, in your life, in your family life. And some of you guys are going to want additional support and help. Right. So that you can go out and pour freaking gasoline on the fire and make 2022 the best year possible. So don't worry, like before the end of our conversation, talk, whatever you want to call this today, we'll share, how you guys can get that extra support with us. If that's okay with everyone. So let's jump in, right? So the thing that I always hear a lot, and I know Jennie hears this a lot too, is real estate market 2022. Should I invest in real estate, right? And I know to make, your 2022 the biggest year ever, I know real estate is part of all your plans for us. You guys wouldn't be spending a Wednesday night with us. Let's go through that, right? I mean, the question that we always get is, hey, when is the right time to invest in real estate? Should I invest in real estate? And why, right? I mean, there's some people will obviously be biased, and, I'm not saying that we're not, because we're obviously in real estate, but, what's the data to really back that up? And I think that's really what differentiates a lot of what I like to call Sunday morning real estate investors to actual real estate investors. A Sunday morning real estate investor may be someone that's like, hey, you know what? I heard on the grapevine, I watched HGTV, and Chipping and Joanna Gaines said that we should do this right now, right? Versus a real estate investor in my mind is saying, hey, based on data, like this is why I invest here. I know I'm investing here because right now there's less than 2 months of supply in houses in this area. I know, the FBI and Mazda are building power plants there that's going to bring 5,000 jobs to this area. And to me, there's a day and night difference of like, wow, like this person knows what they're talking about versus this person just watches TV or got their information from Instagram. So, why should you invest in real estate? And I think, there's a philosophy there, right? One is, in real estate in general, you should never be looking at this as a short-term investment, right? If you are looking at this as a short-term investment, you've missed the boat, right? You should be looking at this as a 5 to 10 year investment. And if you do, you're never going to lose there, right? I don't know a single person that said, man, I'm really mad I bought in 2011 in real estate right now, right? They're probably just like super stoked and like, oh man, I really refinance or have a HELOC or bought like 5 different houses with that one house I bought, or cash flowing heavily right now. So, like the quote we always say is, time in the market is better than timing the market, because none of us have a crystal ball. And if we did, you guys wouldn't be on this call with me or with us. So there are 4 principles that I love to always share that can give you a sneak peek of what to expect, right? Nothing is going to be guaranteed, but these are data points that we look at to track trends in the market and things that will kind of have a cause and effect on each other, kind of a domino effect, right? So things like money supply, how much money is being printed, inflation that we'll talk heavily about, interest rates, and then supply and labor. Those to me are the 4 principles that I look at when I'm like, all right, is this a market that's strong, or, am I a little bit worried? So let's talk about money supply first. So as you guys have probably heard on the news or somewhere, or whatever your news, avenue is, Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is, the government's printed over, I think, 40% of the money supplied in the last year. Right. I mean, if you look at this graph right here, you can see, hey, it's stable money supply being printed. And all of a sudden, in the great parts of recessions, right? So 29, they print a little bit more. They printed our way out of it. That's when they started raising how much money they were printing. And then in 2020, boom, huge amount of printing, right? Because they saw, like, the politicians saw that, hey, like last time it worked, we just printed our way out of it, right? Now, what that does though, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too, is that, they were giving out money everywhere, right? State unemployment. I mean, I know so many people that just didn't go back to work because they're like, what, like I get paid more to sit on my butt than to go back to work, right? And when there's more money in the system, the less valuable it is, right? Think about when there was a lack of toilet paper. Here's a throwback, lack of toilet paper. That was 2 years ago, by the way. Lack of toilet paper at Costco. People were running for the hills. People were stabbing each other just to get toilet paper, right? It becomes so much more valuable when there isn't much, but when there's a lot, toilet paper is whatever. Same thing with money right now. When there's so much money in the market right now, it becomes less valuable because there's so much of it. People have money to spend. They want to buy more stuff. Things are backlogged like crazy right now. They can invest more, right? Robinhood accounts went off the chain. Crypto is going off the chain right now. Dogecoin, all that, Shiba coin, whatever all those are. Real estate, right? So supply of homes go down as well because everyone's got more money, more liquidity, they have more equity in their house. And prices of hard assets go up as well because of demand, because they have more money for rent. Therefore, rents go up and values go up as well. And what that does is that causes things like inflation, right? And I don't know if you've seen this as well, but there's been 6.8% inflation this last month, which is as high as it's been in decades. As you can see here, it goes back from 2017. Like it's usually around like that 2 to 3%, right? But now it's at 6.8%, meaning the cost of almost everything has gone up, right? It has things to do with more money being around, has things to do with, 150 ships off the coast of Long Beach trying to get into that port, but they just can't because there's not enough drivers to come pick up the goods and drive them around. And I've told this story a million times, but I went to San Luis Obispo where I went to college, 6 months ago for a bachelor party. And there's a deli there that we used to go to all the time. It was called High Street Deli. It used to cost $4.20 for a sandwich at college. I went back there this year. It cost me $15 for a sandwich. $15 for a sandwich, like holy crap. So things are getting more expensive. Assets are getting more expensive, right? Because inflation's going off the chain right now. So things like hard assets, real estate, rent, all that stuff, cost of goods in general, they're all going up. And the thing to think about here is that it's a great thing, right? There's positive, there's good inflation, there's bad inflation, right? So good inflation is when cost of goods are going up, but also wages are going up. And from what I've seen and heard from the grapevine and a lot of people, like a lot of people have had their best year ever, right? They have more money to spend. It's and bad inflation is when the cost of goods go up, the sandwich costs $15, but your wages are not going up. So things are just getting more expensive and your wages aren't going up. And that's when something bad can happen because then rents can't go up and the real estate market can't inflate with it. So things to look out there with inflation. Right now, it is trending in the way that it's possible on both ends, wages and cost of goods. The third is interest rates, right? So we're in a super, super, super low environment right now. I think last time I checked, on 2 days ago, it was 2.91% on average for 30-year AM. You look at this graph here. I mean, in 1980, I remember, and I don't know if many people were around when they saw interest rates at 11, 12% when they're happy with that. Well, I know I've never been in that environment, but I know I was even happy with, we got a 5% interest rate like 4 years ago. And we were like, oh, nice, stoked on a fourplex, right? And so, the point is like, we have cheap debt right now. Borrowing money is cheaper than inflation. It's like free money, right? Like if you're keeping money in your savings account right now, you're losing 6% a year because of inflation, right? Money is 3%, inflation is 6%. They're giving you 3% spread right now, right? So get out there, buy assets, and then, leverage the inflation to let your appreciation ride and lock in cheap debt, because we ain't gonna have this for much longer. And I remember probably 2 years ago, Jen, we were talking to some lady down here in the peninsula about her house. She had owned her house since like the 80s or something like that, or the 90s. And, she was complaining to us saying like, man, my mortgage is so high. It sucks. And we're like, well, like, it can't be that bad. You've owned this place for a long time. Like, how much is your mortgage? She's like, it's $700 a month. It's crazy. She was like, it's like a $2.5 million house. And it's like, oh, my mortgage is $700. It's like, wow. Like, and I get it. Like back then in the 80s, it was probably really, really expensive. But nowadays, I think all of us could say, if we live in the coastal cities, at least, like I would kill for that kind of mortgage on that kind of price point of a house. Right. So yeah, I mean, just being able to borrow cheap money right now is a huge, great factor that we're looking at. And, some of the projections that we see right now, though, is that, the Fed has talked about raising rates, right, next year in Q3. But they've been saying that for a long, long time now. But they do project if we do raise rates, it'd be by a quarter point by Q3 2022. Now, what that does is, hey, it may cool down the market, but it's just going to cool down. It's not going to crash it. So my prediction there is that right now, everything's going like 20%, rocket fuel up increases in appreciation. But what that should do is it maybe will calm it down a little bit where it's not as high, right? So, something to keep an eye out there with interest rates. And the last principle that I want to talk about is just the housing shortage. And this to me is actually the thing that a lot of people don't talk about as much as the other three, but I think is probably the most important, because after 08, 09, like builders just stopped building. They're like, you know what? I don't want to be in that real estate market. I'll just do something else. And so even before the pandemic, there was a huge shortage in housing. I got some stats online here, but the U.S. built on average 276,000 fewer homes per year between 2001 and 2020, right? So between the 60s and the 2000s, 276,000. That's a huge amount, and that was 40 years, and this is 20 years or 19 years, right? So we had this huge deficit in amount of houses versus the amount of housing needed. And I know there's a lot of real estate agents on this call right now. There's just not a lot of supply in general. Maybe there's a little bit of uptick this month, but in general, this whole year, there's been nothing. There's been bidding wars all over the country in major cities. And then when we talk to our students, it's like, yeah, like you got to sharpen up your negotiation skills, because anywhere that you want to buy real estate right now, like you got to be good at it, because you got to basically manufacture a good deal and negotiate it. But to make up with that too, we just haven't built as much as we should have. Like we're still 2.1 million homes short if we built it for a whole decade here. And on top of that, new permits for new buildings have dropped 3% as well. And a couple of reasons for that, probably because the cost of building is really expensive. There was a whole lumber spike in cost, and supply chain issues, as you guys know, as well. And also labor, right? Like a lot of people are just not working, right? They don't want to be outside. They're scared of COVID. They're trying to get remote jobs instead. The youth, and I say that like people are young now, but people graduating college that are going to college or graduating college, I mean, they want to be more like white collar jobs. Like they don't want to be the appraisers anymore. They don't want to be the handyman. They don't want to be the HVAC guy anymore, right? So what's causing is maybe not just the labor shortage, it's also the labor shifting, the ideology of where they want to work and who they want to work for and how they want to live their lifestyle. So overall, to wrap up on it, yeah, what we're doing right now is personally, Jennie and I, we're hedging against inflation. We're locking in cheap debt for the long run in cash flowing assets, not just for monetary gain, guys, but for lifestyle and for generational legacy. And Jennie's going to go over, one of the deals that she did last year that is an example of this.
And then I know, Kevin, you put in the chat a question: if rates rise and home prices drop or stay the same, how does your strategy change when you want to scale by cash out refinancing? So some of the things, the last crash, what happened was in the 2008 crash with the housing crisis to 2012. Something that is different now from then is that before there was something called stated income financing, where people would just say, hey, I make $300,000, $500,000, and banks were incentivized, mortgage lenders were incentivized to maneuver these loans and be like, hey, can you just say you make a little bit more and then you can buy 5 houses? And then they were all selling these adjustable rate mortgages. But we have a few lenders on this call right now. There's something called debt to income ratio now, where it's very strict, where it's like most banks require the max debt that you can have is 43% debt to income ratio on your loan. So, and then you have to have a good credit score as well too, at least like a 680 credit scores with most banks. And before, people were getting loans with 400 credit scores, 500 credit scores. So that's where the difference between the housing crash the last time that has happened. Now banks have learned they don't want to go through bailouts. The government does not want to do that again. So that's where it's like they are restricting people who can actually only afford to purchase houses. And there's a lot of limitations. You are required to have 6 to 12 month reserves as well too. Before, these were things that were not in place. That's what caused the bubble or prices to drop. But if prices the rates do go up, that's why we're investing in diversifying our portfolio. We have properties in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have Airbnbs. We have properties in Utah, in Texas, in Alabama, in Kansas City, in Tennessee, all around the country, because we know that things can happen. There's natural disasters that happen. There's earthquakes that might happen here in California. There's hurricanes and tornadoes that are happening. So you want to diversify your portfolio there. And we are confident, and we're buying in places that will cash flow. So even when we're cashing out, like refinancing, we're still being able to hedge our bets from there, because we know that these are cash flowing, will still be okay, and the rent will be able to cover.
Yeah. And Kevin, man, I love you, man. And great question, dude. Kind of piggybacking on what Jennie said, it's like, you know, I know I always talk to you about this, but it's like diversifying your defense strategy, your exit strategies, right? So yeah, sure. Maybe the exit strategy right now is, hey, I'd love to refinance at a new rate, right? And there's so many different ways that we can go about this, right? It's where it's like, if interest rates go up, I mean, supply has to also catch up too, right? I mean, even if interest rates go up, if there's still a supply shortage and people still want to buy homes like crazy and demand's so high, then it's still going to go up in price, right? But let's just say that, hey, maybe 3 of these 4 principles go down, right? And there is a stabilization of the cost. We're not buying for appreciation anyways, for the most part, right? What we're buying for is the long run, right? And if we're buying cash flowing assets, we already have that as one exit strategy. And, you know, it's interest rates go up, but inflation is still happening and there's just still more money in the money supply and wages still continue to rise. Well, guess what? And as we've seen this in markets across the nation right now, where you'll be able to increase rents. And if you increase rents, you know, as an investor, you know, would you still buy an asset that can get you a 10 to 15 to 20% cash on cash return? Yeah, you are, right? And you can charge it if it's affordable in that market. And I know in apartment complexes that we do too, it's like, yeah, if rents go up, you can get your net operating income up. The value is going up of your property, right? So yeah, and just it's always having the multiple exit strategies, dude. Of all right, even if that goes down, like we bought for cash flow, okay, we're cool. We can last long. We've had reserves in our bank account, and that we were looking for, and being safe when we're buying. And we bought 20% under market when we first bought it in there, anyways. Then you have those defenses, those exit strategies that you have ready for you. So man, yeah, great question, dude. I appreciate the ask.
And just another thing to add to that is, like, with COVID and a lot of companies doing like partial remote working as well too, where, hey, you can work 2 or 3 days at home and then only come in 2 or 3 days of the week in the office. So having a home office is very important. So people are expanding and going and buying larger homes. So single family home investments are like consistently appreciating because they need more space, and especially if their kids are homeschool working and all of that. So we have seen a slowdown on like 1-bedroom condos close to the city center, but like the single family homes, like 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the standard is consistently growing and appreciating. And that's what we're investing in as well. And then we'll dive into one of our case studies that we just bought last year. So this property, bought it as a new construction. I put $500 down for deposit back in September 2020. And I remember going out there and I was just hearing things of like, we bought our first investment property out of state in Huntsville, but it's like, okay, like, you're following trends. I know NASA is out there. It's one of the highest IQ per capita out there. And then Mazda is creating a manufacturing plant. FBI is having their second headquarters out there. What is the growth going in that area? And there's markets all around the country where they're expanding out. And I was like, okay, I want to buy this property. It's only $500 to put in for a down payment. It'll be done in May. So it took a few months to build, and I put $50,000 for a down payment for this property. Assad, I think you're on the call, and he helped me with my loan. So thank you on that. And I bought this and the equity, if you look at the Zillow estimate, it's not completely accurate, but it's a good estimate to benchmark. It's already appreciated to $282,500. So that's already a 76% return of equity, like that, built in 7 months. And then I'm getting $1,900 per month in rent, my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and all that. My monthly payment is $1,168. Property management is 10%, $190 per month. And we're just putting aside maintenance and CapEx fees if any issues arise, but it's a new construction. So haven't really had much issues. I just had to spend like $400 to add a garbage disposal all since I've bought it. So, but I put aside $190 per month on that. So I'm cash flowing $352 a month, which is based off what I put into the $50,000 down, 8.6% cash on cash return. And I'm thinking it's like it's not amazing, it's not double digit, but I'm treating this property as, I told Kevin, it's like, I want to buy another one, but this was like back in COVID, we didn't know where the market was. But I was like, this is for our first child's, future child's college education. So that this property is already appreciated to 282,500. I only put 50,000 down. The tenant is paying the rest of the mortgage down. And hopefully like in 20 years, when our first child goes to college or whatever he wants to do, then this will be ideally paid off, because we'll just put a bit more or still have a small loan. And let's say it's worth, let's say it only appreciates to 500,000, but I'm confident with how the market it's going, it'd be close to 800. But let's say $500,000 would be paid off. We can do a cash out refinance and pull out $400,000 of that. That will pay for every year of college for $100,000. We know tuition is going up. I went to USC, $50,000. Now it's going towards like $65,000. So by the time it might be $100K. So treat each investment as like, what am I going to do? Use this property for? Someone, Miranda, you mentioned marriage as well too. It's like, hey, if you bought this property a year ago, it's like you can do a cash out refinance and pull that 30 something thousand of equity that you built, and that would pay for the wedding itself. So using that creative and tying a end result of a goal of what you want to do with the property. We have an Airbnb as well, and we use the Airbnb profits, and that's what's going to pay for our Hawaii vacation at the end of this year. And then for our wedding, it's like, we're not stressing about that, because it's like, hey, we can just get some equity out from this house and pay for our wedding in the future.
Yeah. Assets buy liabilities, or assets, if it's wedding, buys more assets in a way, right? Great investment there. And remember guys, like, there's what I love about real estate. I mean, we say this all the time, but 4 ways to make money in one deal, right? So even on this case study, right, it's, obviously the appreciation has been great. You can't bank on it, but in this case, hey, there's been great appreciation, right? You made 37K off of 50K in 7 months, right? That's number 1. Number 2 is cash flow. Cool. Again, $352 a month in cash flow. 3 is that her tenants are paying down the loan, right? So her loan, here's where she bought it. The equity was here. There was the loan, right? And as we go up, it appreciates and the loan gets paid down, right? So more and more and more, and you get more of the pie, right? And then what you can do is you can refinance that. You can use a HELOC, you can sell it, take the exchange it. Use more equity to play with, right? And then the 4th is depreciation, right? Jennie and I haven't, paid a lot of taxes in the last couple of years because of this, magical thing called depreciation in tax code, right? And you can depreciate your property and everything inside of it to make sure that you're not paying as much taxes as you should as well. So many different ways. I mean, in stocks, right? You spend 50K, right? You're getting 50K of stocks, right? In this case, 50K gets you to own a 245K asset. So even though the asset, maybe, I think the stock market, I saw some stat, it's like, increased by like 25% this year, which is nuts. Real estate increased by like 15%. So on the surface of that looks like it's less, but what they don't tell you is that you're actually leveraging that. So you own a bigger asset. So it's appreciating by that much, but you're actually getting the appreciation off the 245K, not just the 50K that you put down of your cash, right? And what we say before, one of the principles is that debt is super, super cheap right now. It's cheaper than inflation. It's free money. So like Devin said, buy.
And another thing with rental properties specifically is that you can write off your property taxes and your mortgage interest, all of your mortgage interest and your HOA as well too. So with your primary residence that you buy, you can write off up to $10,000. Definitely double check with your accountant where your tax bracket is, and up to $750,000 for mortgage interest. But for real estate investments, for rental properties, you can do write off all of that and pay less taxes. And then there's a lot of other strategies of 1031 exchange where you defer and like buy, and like what we say, defer till you die. So those are other strategies we dive in more into our program, but just give you enlightenment of how you can save on taxes.
Yeah. And Eileen, you had a question about, how do you find cash flowing markets, right? And and if you're in the Facebook group, we actually did a market analysis, little mini series, a couple, maybe a month or 2 months ago. So check that out. And if not, happy to answer any questions at the end too. But based off that, Eileen, as well, I mean, some of the next case that we're going to do is, we want to look at trends that are going to be favorable to our real estate market and investment, right? So things that I, love looking at. I love looking at population trends. I love looking at rental trends. How much are rents going for, right? So In this case, this is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. What I look for is, hey, is there a net positive migration? Are people actually moving there? So I love when I see, there's a growth, right? And that's always usually supported by job growth, right? When there's job growth, people move there. When there's more remote work ability, people will move different places. I know everyone that lives in the Bay Area, at least, they've seen, a lot of their friends move out of state. They move to Nevada, they move to Tennessee, they move to Texas, right? So you see those population growth, and because the job growth is moving there as well. So that's a good sign, because when there's more people moving there, and there's always that finite amount of supply still, because the building's not fast enough, then guess what? Demand goes higher again. And that can force pressure onto real estate as well, not only in rents, but also in home prices as well. And that's what we see here in Chattanooga, where you can see that the trend is it's been growing and growing and growing. We're in 2017, a multifamily one bedroom was going for $873, and now it's going for $950. That's a nice increase in the last 4 years, right? And to continue the trend, it's continuing to go up, and it's probably because of a lot of the population growth and a lot of job growth. And that's why, I've been looking at this market for a long, long time. And, for our case study here, it's a multifamily, it's an apartment complex. This is I think a 31 unit. And we're buying this right now. We're in escrow for $2.1 million. And right now, the as is net operating income of this, meaning that it's the income minus the gross expenses, is about $90K. But we know that there's value here, right? There's a value add opportunity to raise rents. We're probably gonna need about $150,000 of work to be done, like cosmetic work, paints, new floors, cabinets, fixtures, things like that. But when we do that work, we should be able to stabilize the net operating income by raising the rents on each unit to about $158K. So almost double there. Cap rate in that area is about 5.5%. So what that does is it projects us a new value of about $2.87 million. So our potential gain on equity there is $750K in 1 year, right, after we do that work. $750K in one deal, right? That's one way, like I said, that you can make money in real estate. The forced appreciation, where you're actually doing the work and value adding to it to make it more valuable. Because especially in apartment complexes, it's not just about, hey, that house sold for that down the street, but what it is about, it's an income producing property. Other investors are going to buy this, but if you don't leave enough meat on the bone, they're not going to buy it, right? So got to be able to cash flow still. I want to buy a property that has potential to actually cash flow, right? So that's where that is. And that's why it's based off of net operating income and not just appreciation. But our plan, and this is in 3 years, we'll refinance this on a 75% loan to value and get all of our original capital out of this property. We're going to put 20% down on this. So it's, I don't know, I think all of them are like 500K or something like that into this, 500 to 600K. So we'll get all our money back out, and guess what? We'll do it again. We'll buy another property with that. And we still going to own this property, and it will still cash flow 3K a month, which will give us an infinite return, cash on cash return, because we have none of our original capital in this deal. But what I attribute to this too is, like Eileen, like you said, like we're looking at the market. We're looking at not only the macro market, but also the micro market of the trends here. Like, our rents continue to grow here, and what is causing these rent increases? And can these people even afford the rent, right? If I always use a 25% affordability index of, what the median home price is versus the median wage. And if it's more than 25%, then most people are not gonna be able to afford that. They can't spend more than 25% of their income to just rent, because they gotta pay taxes, they gotta pay groceries, they gotta pay utilities, all that stuff, car insurance, cars, car bill, things like that. So again, these are just some of the case studies that we look at when we say, all right, we're going to be investing in real estate, and this is why, right? What it is to buy it for our future kids, that they can now use this for wherever they want to, to live off of, to sell, their choice, right? For this deal, we want to do this because, we want to open this up to other people to invest with us and say, hey, cool, we're all making money together and we're all growing together. Because at the end of the day, selfishly, one of our goals is we don't want to, be on the beach or play golf by ourselves. Like, we want to do it with people that we want to be around. So, and that's what this is all about. All right. So that was the real estate update there. I'll take a couple questions before we jump into kind of goal setting and things like that. So if you got any questions, go ahead and go off mute right now, and we'll take a couple of new questions here.
Yeah, I'm actually curious about Caleb's question. How quickly would you be able to cash out refi to pull out the initial down payment? And who is managing property? How did you find them?
Yeah, good question, Caleb. So on a cash out refinance, I mean, for us, we were doing it in about a year, right? So depending on what kind of loan you're getting, Fannie Freddie guidelines, they typically want you to, if you're going to do it on the new appraised value, right? You can do a loan to cost value, which means that, you know, whatever you bought it for plus, you know, whatever renovations you do it, you can do that in 6 months, right? But if you want a full cash out refinance on the new appraised value because you're forcing appreciation by adding value, then about a year. 1 year is when you typically can get, if you're trying to get a Fannie Freddie institutional loan. And the second part of that question, who is managing the property? How did you find them? Well, yeah, it ain't us. I ain't flying out to Tennessee. I'll tell you that much every day. But you know what you do is, and this is really important, is you got to find good teammates, right? I mean, this is not basketball, or this is not golf or tennis. This is basketball or football, right? This is a team sport, and you know you're only as strong as your teammates are, right? And as being the CEO of your business, like you got to manage your property manager as well. You got to identify their strengths and weaknesses. So you got to find, for me at least, you know, we found property managers that are rock stars at being property managers. But actually, one of the things that, you know, for us that we found was, hey, you know, he's a rock star property manager. He's really good at the things that property managers should be good at, which are, you know, getting tenants to pay, getting it up to getting make readies done, and getting it up to market rent. But you know, some things that, you know, maybe they're not great at are reporting and back office stuff, right? So I'm taking it off his plate and adding another team member to do that for him. Right. So he can focus on his strengths. So it's a constant game of finding out, hey, what are the strengths of my team and how can I play toward that? And where can I fill the gaps of where they're weak?
And I love the question Catalina just asked is how can we get over the fear of taking action? So it's all mindset. So that's where for us, it's like why we created a community of people who are like-minded, because you can surround yourself with people who are going to ask, like, what if this goes wrong? What if your tenant doesn't pay rent? What if your toilets break? What if this happens? And thinking a lot of negativity, what can happen? Yes, those things will happen. There's nothing will be perfect, but it's like, okay, how can we hedge against those risks and be able to shift our mindset? What is the opportunity of being able to take action? If I were to be able to take action, what would that do for me? Getting to that $10,000 of passive income a month, what would that do for my family? For me, I always focus on the end goal, the why. And then my why was to be able, by seeing how hard my parents work every single day, not even speaking English, and how much they've been able to put in for my brother and me to go to USC, which is not a cheap college to go to, but I'm doing it all for them. It's like, I want them to be near us. I want us to have family dinners. I want them to see my future kids be raised. I want them to teach them Cantonese and Chinese and know the cultural backgrounds. I want us to be able to go on vacation. I don't want to be working until and not be able to see my future kids grow up. So what is the risk of not taking the action as well? So switch that and really think about hey, the people who are on this call with kids, you're spending more time with work and your colleagues and all that than you are seeing your kids grow up. So what if you were able to reverse that and be able to own your own ownership and own your time back? So what is the value of that time that you're going to do and get back for, and how else can you contribute back to the world? So that's where for us, I always focus on that big why, and that always trumps what my fear is. And another phrase that my coach mentioned is that fear is the only thing that gets smaller the closer that you get to it. So when you think about anything, if you look at a cup and it gets closer to you, it gets bigger. If you're chasing, you see a bear and you go closer to the bear is getting bigger. But fear is the only thing that gets smaller the closer you get to it. So being able to face your fears, and we're here to really be able to help you face those fears and beat them out and be able to win and enjoy life together.
Yeah. And to add on to Jenny's point, it's fear is one of those things that we all have, right? In general. And I remember one of our students, she had a fear that she would never even be able to buy in the Bay Area or even have kids. You imagine that, I can't have kids because I can't afford it. Right. And now, I mean, just seeing her grow, someone that took on that fear and said, all right, the fear isn't of going into real estate. It's fear is more about, what if I don't do this? What if I never do this? And that's more scary to me than anything, and more powerful to her as well. And she jumped in full-fledged she's on her second deal. She's going to do a burr next. And she's like, yeah, I can't believe I was thinking about that before, like not having kids and stuff. Like that was dumb. Like now I got 2 properties, I'm about to have 3. Like what a badass, right? So, getting over fear. I mean, it's just one of those things that it's a defense mechanism for our body. So just honor your body for even having that defense mechanism and just say, hey, like, thank you so much for having this for me, but I got this because, as long as you have the right community around you, you have the right mentors to catch you fall, and you have the right knowledge to give you the confidence to go out and actually go do it. And I promise you, when you go do it, it's so much harder when you don't do it. But when you do it, you're like, wow, that wasn't that hard at all. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, like, wow, that wasn't that bad actually. And then you get that bug, like Jennie said, and you're like, all right, then I'm off to the races. I got the bug and I want to do more. What's next? I want to do more. What's next? Right. So absolutely. So I know there's a lot of other questions in the chat, but just in the sake of moving so that we can get all the content in, we will answer all these questions at the end. I promise we'll stay on as long as we need to answer all your questions, but I want to make sure we get through all the content as well. And I know it's dinner time for a lot of people too. So I want to make sure that they can go get some grub. All right. So making 2022 your best year ever. So as we transition from real estate focus now more into your mindset, right? Into, all right, how can I actually make 22 the best year ever? And it starts internally. So Jennie had mentioned, what is that why? And that's what we're going to dissect here and how to get into that right energy to understand why it's so important for you to be here at late at night on this call with us. So the first thing that we always want to do is we want to reflect back in the year, right? And get into this energy of gratitude. I remember a couple of years back, I was still living in my condo in San Francisco, and Jennie and I were in the community hot tub there. And I had probably had a pretty bad week that week. And, we were trying to plan out the next few months. And I was in there just beating myself up like, oh man, like I suck. What am I doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. And, I'll always remember this moment. I don't know if she does, but I'll tell the story right now. She just looked at me and she's like, why are you looking at the future so much? Like, why don't you just look back and just really honor all the amazing things that you've done this year? And I was like, dang. Like, you're right. Like, I was taking a step back and I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I just started thinking about all the things that we did do that year and what we accomplished. And it was awesome. And it immediately got me into the state of gratitude of like, not like, oh, I'm so anxious and worried about next year. And hell, I mean, I used to be in sales and, for me, it was always like the end of the year, you start at zero again. Like, get me so anxious and like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. But you get into gratitude of like, wow, like, just want to say like, wow, like, I'm a badass. I did a great thing this year. I wrote down goals and I hit them. And that's pretty badass. Like, I didn't even think like we can get that far, but that's pretty cool to think about. Right. And it automatically changes your flow of like how you feel. Right. So that now you can unlock your brain to say, wow, I can actually think about what is possible again versus like this scarcity mindset. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm so scared about next year and I'm so anxious. Right. And that happened. And naturally our conversation went back toward the future. And we were able to think, or I was able to think at least from a better place. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this or not, but at the end of the day, you are your worst enemy, right? It's so easy to always look at what is next. It's easy to fall in that trap of having more, right? But you forget that sometimes that the journey is the fun part. And we forget that we need to honor the accomplishments that you have done for yourself because, man, every single one of you guys have done something amazing this year. Whatever it is, with your family life, your fitness, your finances, whatever it is. So just take that second and say, wow, great job, Taylor. Great job, Christine. I was a badass this year. I made that jump. I made that commitment to myself and I did it. And I'm pumped on that. That'll get you into a good flow of saying, all right, now let me think about what I can do next and what's possible. So our reflection this year, and I'm always astonished when I look at my goals that I wrote down from the previous year, and it just kind of shows the power of writing them down or visualizing them, writing them down, and then sharing them with people. And I did all this around actually the same time. Where actually last year around this time I went on a retreat. We shared with 5 other guys. We did goal setting where we just kind of let loose about all our insecurities, our vulnerabilities, all that stuff, and we wrote down our goals. And I look back at it, and this is what happened, right? So one of my goals from 12/6/2020 was to help over 100 people learn about real estate investing. Number 2 was to help my sister get into real estate. Number 3 was to buy 75 more doors. Number 4 was to quit my W-2. Number 5 was to propose in Hawaii. And number 6 was to hit a 75% success rate, meaning that our students were getting into good investment deals with our students. And when I did this exercise last week and I looked back at what had actually happened, yeah, I was so astonished. And it's just the power of goal setting. But number one, okay, so comparing it, goal was to help 100 people learn about real estate investing. We helped over 102 this year in Zen Coast, like almost down to the T, which is nuts. Number two was help my sister get into real estate. She closed on her first Airbnb. She's cash flowing like a mofo right now in Texas. So pumped on that. Number three was to buy 75 more doors. We bought 97 this year. Number four was quit my W-2. I'd say that I retired from my W-2. Sounds a little bit better. Number five was propose in Hawaii. And this one I didn't quite hit. I actually proposed in New York, and I'll blame Jennie for that one, for not being able to go to Hawaii and canceling our trips. But okay, and result was the same. So got the deal done. And then number five was hit a 75% success rate. We actually hit a 90% success rate. So every year, I'm so astonished about all this stuff. And I don't know why it's happening every year for the last 3 years. When you write it down and you share it and you look at it at the end of the year, like, wow, holy crap. Either it's almost down to the exact number or it's super, super damn close. And, oh, go ahead, Jen. I see you want to talk. Yeah.
Yeah, and just really the power of writing it down. And a great book is A Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. And he actually just had a recent podcast. If you listen on Bigger Pockets and search Cameron Herold Vivid Vision. And this is what we do with our students. That's like when they start in, like sharing what their vision is with their family life, their finances, with their philanthropy, with fitness, with all things in life aspect. And why it's a little shifted, because I wrote on my Vivid Vision that I wanted my parents to see me get proposed to this year. And I wrote that in my Vivid Vision. So I shared it with more people. And I think that's why it trumped Calvin's proposal in Hawaii.
Yeah, she did tell me that, but I guess manifestation or whatever, maybe she whispered it in my ear while I was sleeping, and that kind of subconsciously got me to do it. I don't know, whatever it is. But yeah, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people on this call right now, I mean, they have their W-2s, right? Where they're taking a lot of time and energy with their W-2s. And I just want to let you guys know, like, we did a lot of this while having the W-2. I mean, I was working like 60-hour weeks. Like, I don't know, yeah, Jennie, I was working until like 11 p.m. sometimes, midnight sometimes, 1 a.m. sometimes. And, I just want to say, like, you guys can do this, right? Whatever your calendar is your priority, all right? You open your calendar right now and I'll show you what your priorities are. Right. And we got, members of Zen Coast doing this with full-time jobs and kids. Like, we don't have kids right now. And I can't even imagine like that full-time job as well. So, allocate your time and energy wisely, right? Because those are the two assets you have in life. And that's why it's so important to know your why, because if you know your why, it'll trump any kind of tiredness or anything like that, because, you'll feel like, man, I got to go do this because of X, Y, Z, right? And I'll share an example of that later too. But we've been talking a lot, and I hate talking a lot. We're gonna just do a quick exercise. Like, let's get a couple of shares let's get in that energy of gratefulness, right? So let's get 3 shares from some people here about what they're grateful for. And I will call names if I don't hear one come through.
I can go first.
Oh, go ahead. Caitlin. Go ahead.
Okay. I am grateful for Christine for inviting me to this webinar tonight. Do I have to do all 3, or can one work and I can popcorn?
You can popcorn it out.
Yeah, no, that's my top of my thing. Just like a lot of gratefulness right now for Miss Christine over there. So
ditto on that. Jamila, go for it. I saw you raise your hand as well.
I was going to let you popcorn over to me, but so I'm grateful for my health, actually. So it's 2021 and lots of I'm just appreciative to be healthy today.
I love it. And that is so important. What is health? There's a really crazy quote that I always live off with. It's a Dalai Lama quote where it's like, people will spend all their lives and all their, health to try to get wealthy. And then when they're wealthy, they're trying to buy back their health, thus never living at all. And I'm like, that quote is always stuck with me. I was trying to get a tattoo of that. Jennie wouldn't let me. So anyways, side story. It makes a lot of sense. And I love that, Jamila. I really appreciate that. Let's get one more.
Yeah, I can go. I'm very, very grateful that I met Calvin and Jennie and the Zen Coast family. My We Pod, we call our pod the We Pod because there's no I in team. So our We Pod is we're getting closer, and we just did our Vivid Visions, and I just can't I mean, wait till you do it. It is the best experience ever. So that's what I'm very grateful for. So thank you, Calvin and Jennie, for taking us in.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Marianne. And I'll put a grateful out to Eric for creating that awesome logo for your guys' pod. Unprovoked, made that logo, and that's awesome. And yeah, Marianne, that's actually a great transition to our next point. I swear she's not planted in there, but like this actually goes exactly to what we're going through next. So, Jennie, let's go over what your big why is, right, and why that's so important.
Yeah, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, but just to explain the big why, success is doing what you want to do whenever you want, where you want, with whomever you want, as much as you want. And my big why was my parents, seeing how much that they work and how much they put on the table for food. And I remember just they would just cutting like paper towels in fours because we needed to conserve that money. And then we would just eat like canned fish sometimes for dinner. So just really being able to give back to them and show them the world. They, one of these pictures we were in Barcelona, and like I took my parents to Barcelona on a trip with Calvin, and all expenses paid for their flights, paid for their Airbnbs and hotels. We also went to Madrid. I remember just like getting drunk with them, and like my mom was like a kid again because she had to work as a young child. And since she was like 12, 13 years old, she didn't even finish, I think even 9 years old. She told me she didn't finish the 4th grade was the highest education that she got because she had to work for the family to put food on the table. So I want to really show her the world, and they're not getting any younger. Like as we're growing, our parents are not getting any younger. I saw my dad, like he's trying to conserve money by like painting the own cabinets and like doing manual labor work. But then like on our recent trip to Yosemite, I saw he was limping a little and he can't walk more than half a mile. And that really saddened me. And I was just like, I need to show them the world sooner rather than later. I know COVID is a thing that's affecting travel, but once everything opens up, I'm going to make sure that he has the best health doctors to be able to make sure that his knees are okay and that we can travel the world. And if we can just like hire a limo and just drive him around and have a personal driver whenever we go and not have to worry about the finances, because seeing my mom be a little girl again, because she had to grow up so young, like so early at 9 years old to put food on a table. So seeing her drunk, drinking wine, eating lots of tapas, I want to be able to experience more of that, and also be able to share that with our kids and see them, see their grandchildren and great grandchildren grow up as well. So that's my big why, and really try for you guys to really think and reflect. A lot of you guys are here with your couples and significant others. Like, what are the action items and what is your big why that you want to do for your parents or your future kids or your current kids, your future grandchildren? And what is a legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah. And I promise you, I mean, I see Jennie every day, right? I mean, this why drives her like to work so hard and to be the best person. And, we're essentially moving out her parents next year to the Bay Area just to be closer with them, and, bought them a house that, out here, and, retiring them. So it's an awesome feeling to kind of see this, in all fruition. And, this has been the driving force for her for a long time. And yeah, I mean, I promise you guys, every single one of you guys, you find that purpose, you find that really deep down, like why that's really in your heart, not up here, not in your logic, but in your heart. That would be enough to get you out of bed to say, hey, like I need to go do that one more cold call, now one more offer, whatever it is. So once you know your why, right? I mean, we always, talk through this. So let's start to work backwards on that, right? And reverse engineer in a way, because again, it's money. It's not about money. It's not about real estate. It's not about cryptocurrency or anything like that. It's nothing if you don't have all aspects of life, if you're not fulfilled, right? In your fitness, in your health, like Jamila said, and in your finances, in your family, right? If that is all there, then what good is money? Right? So why is it important for you to hit that goal? What does that do for you? And a big thing that we always talk about a lot in our communities is shifting that identity, right? Because it's not just all about, hey, I want to be a millionaire so I can move my parents out, but who do I need to become to be that person that can afford to move my parents out here? empty to say that I'm a millionaire, but what does that do to be a millionaire in your community? Right? And there's small shifts that you can make in your identity year over year over year until you are that person that you dreamed of, right? This doesn't happen overnight. Identities take 3 years to create. And I know, 5 years ago, I reflect back on this. It's like, 5 years ago when Jennie and I were living in SF, like, I know for me, like I was eating out all the time. I was going out to the bars with my friends and, spending $20 for a drink. And I know Jennie dragged me to this real estate conference and, she kind of tricked me to pick her up. I was hungover. I went there and I picked her up and, everyone was doing Tony Robbins things like jumping up and down, being all pumped up. And I thought it was a Ponzi scheme. And it was because my identity at the time was so wrapped around being a W-2 tech sales rep. And my identity was so wrapped around being someone that was social with their friends and having a social life and identifying that my self-worth was equated to the friend groups I had around me and how many I had and how many invites I had to parties and stuff like that. And what this conference did, it didn't change my identity completely, but what it did was help me start to realize that there was more than life than going to the same bars over and over again. And that my self-worth wasn't always tied to something that was so worthless, not worthless, but like not as much as, impacting my family's life and moving someone out here. Right now, did I change my whole identity? It did not, but it started to give me those small shifts to help me start to grow my identity into what it is today. And so that when I was finally ready to leave my W-2, I was scared, right? I had insecurities. I was thinking like, I'm comfortable. Why would I leave? I have the golden handcuffs. I have a security blanket. What do I do? What do I do with my time? Right? I had to rework my whole identity again. And, thankfully I'm surrounded by, people I really love and respect. And they helped me really formulate a new identity of who I needed to become to be able to leave and to, step into the new identity. And, I came up with this acronym that I say in the shower every morning that Jennie hears. It's called VALVE, where I say that I am a value creator, I'm an action taker, I'm a leader, I'm a visionary and an entrepreneur. And I say this over and over and over again for 5 times. Sometimes I get mixed up because it's kind of a tongue twister, but not the point. I'll say it over and over again, right? And what that does for me is I kind of wear like a "What would Jesus do" bracelet, right? Where, if I'm getting complacent, I'm getting comfortable again. Well, I'd say, well, I'm a value creator, action taker. Would a value creator, action taker, leader, visionary, entrepreneur be the one right now watching Tiger King on the couch eating Cheetos? Like, no, it wouldn't be. So I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go do something that's productive, right? So I can step into this new identity. So as we go through these exercises, like, think about what's your big why? And then once you have your big why, who do you need to become to be that person in your why, to be able to accomplish your why? And some of the things that we do, we're not gonna go through this in heavy today, but we'll do self-reflections. Me and Jennie did this on Sunday, but cool exercises to self-reflect. Just ask yourself a couple of questions. Why are you really here? What problems are you trying to solve? And what do you want to be remembered for? It could be anything. And we have a student right now who I freaking love because his why is so powerful, right? His why is really here is like he wants to go back to Jamaica and rebuild the village that his mom grew up in that got torn down by a tornado. Like, how freaking cool is that? That's your why? Like, oh my God, that's so badass. And what problems is he trying to solve? Well, he's trying to give opportunities to kids that grew up in that village that maybe his mom didn't have, that come from, diverse economic backgrounds and don't have the advantages that we have in our lives. And that's what he wants to be remembered for, is making a difference in hundreds of people's lives, right? And that can give you that boost of, if you're unsure what your why is, like, this is a great exercise just to self-reflect on, maybe what that core, of you is. And once you do that, we talked about the vivid vision exercise that I think Mariana mentioned, Eric mentioned. Like, this is an exercise that we have every one of our members do because it is that powerful. Where you're going to go through and visualize in extreme detail what your life looks like in 3 years in all aspects: family, friends, fitness, finances, future big, hairy, audacious goal, and philanthropy. That one's a stretch, but we said it because it's PH, close enough. And what that does is it gives you the difference of being rich versus wealthy, right? Being rich is you're rich in one of these aspects in life, but being wealthy means you're balanced on all of these aspects. And that's what we want. We want you to be as precise as possible, because if you can envision it in exactly what you want it to look like and feel like, then it's more likely to come true. Right? So we always recommend, hey, find a quiet place that you can go, no distractions, no phones, especially no phones, no kids if you can run away from them. clear your mind. We do Wim Hof meditations are great. We do also do Peloton meditations, breathing exercises, just to really extract away any kind of things that you're taking from maybe work, stresses from your day. Get rid of that. You want to get in that energy of gratitude again, right? Clear your mind. Visualize what your dream life is in 3 years, and then write it down as it's already happened, right? And then verbalize it like you do in your pods, because if you do that, what you're doing is essentially you're tricking your subconscious, right? And your subconscious mind works at 40 million data bits per second, where your conscious mind only works at 4,000. What that means is it's always constantly working in your subconscious. You know how you always say like, oh, I forget what I said, but my subconscious will think about it, and then you'll remember it like 5 seconds later. Oh, it's corn dogs. That's what I meant to say, right? The same way I could say to you, everyone on this call right now, like, man, there's been a lot of red cars on the road today. You guys are not going to remember this, but when you're driving next time, you're like, oh crap, there's a lot of red cars out here. Wait a second. Calvin said that on that webinar the other day, right? It's because your subconscious is working toward it and you're manifesting it. Same thing with this. You're saying that it already happened. You're saying that this is already my life. Your subconscious is working toward that over and over and over again. I remember when we first got our first apartment complex, I would tell myself, I would tell Jennie, like, I'm an apartment complex investor. And an opportunity came up that, a year before that, probably went right over my head. But because I was seeking that out subconsciously, I was like, wait, this is exactly what I want to hear. All right, I'd love to talk about this more. Right. So take it how you will, but super important exercise. I'll share. This is my vision from 2020 that I'll share with you guys. I'll go over just one of them because it is long, but we'll say the family brother side, right? So before we left to go to Barcelona, we were hanging out with Kim and her husband, Tim, at their house in San Carlos. That they've been in now for 3.5 years. Their baby is 1 year old, and I'm so grateful that I'm an uncle. They repainted their house from green to light gray, and it looks fantastic. We're very, very tight, and we still see her and Tim almost every week. It's inspiring to see her in motherhood, as I remember thinking 4 years ago prior to their wedding, what a great mom she would be. So seeing it in action is super heartwarming. On the business side, she's helping run the Airbnb side of the business, doing communications with guests, or doing due diligence on social media to ensure that our guests are someone that we would welcome into our home. We say goodbye, that we will see them again in the year after we get back from our trip, right? And so when I wrote this, none of this stuff was true. Now she's about to have her kid. They're about to have her like in 2 months, and it's like she's helping in the Airbnb business. So like you just manifest it, just like Jennie manifested getting proposed to in front of her parents. I had no idea about that, but again, she whispered in my sleep for a whole year, and I guess that's how it happened. But vivid vision wise, like you say it, you visualize it, you share it, you manifest it, and I swear to God, crazy things happen down to the number sometimes. So it's that important. Some tips that we always tell our students: dream big, be specific. They should excite you, and you should freaking love it after that. Like that should be like, man, I'm so pumped in my life in 2024. Using empowering words that I am grateful for. Not I will, or I can't, I'm going to do that. It's already happened. I'm grateful that already happened. And then who you need to be, right, to be that person today. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I adjust my vision was every quarter now, because you'll be surprised what you can do in a quarter. You're like, well, you know what? I wasn't thinking big enough. I'm gonna change it to go bigger. At the end of the day, just have fun with it, guys. Like this is a fun exercise that just like daydreaming about like what your life could be, but you're actually writing it down and you're sharing it. And for me, when I share it with people, I get excited. So that should be the same feeling that you should be coming from. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jennie.
Yeah, and just another thing is like doing it in a different environment, getting out there and being like we did our Vivid Visions when we were in Yosemite or different retreats. We always try to change environment and book a place that is fun. And just a little plug here, I'm just going to put in our Airbnb that we have that we're great income. We already have like 7,500 coming in per month in that, but like you can book a night. If you message us, we'll give you a discount on that. Christine on our team has a amazing cabin up in Yosemite area as well, so she'll put the link in that. Anyone who has like great retreats or other Airbnbs that they want to book, put out there in the chat, just so that getting outside in that environment, seeing the beautiful views, being out in nature. That is one of our recommendations, to get outside, be like, hey, what would it look like for us to own this beautiful house and have an Airbnb too? So just a little plug there.
Quick plug, book it up, let's go. But yeah, and so once we have your vision, right, that's like the driving force. That's the why. That's what we're aiming for. But I always kind of say too, it's like, great, you have your vision, you have your end goal. Now let's rip that apart and let's focus on the habits, because you don't always focus on the end goal, because sometimes I could feel like it's so large that you're not really going to get there. So then we always mention is, focus on the habits to get there. What's the action plan to get there? And it shouldn't be like, all right, well, I'm going to be rich by becoming rich. Well, how are you going to get there, right? So let's break that down into what we call a 4-1-1 action plan. So if in your vivid vision, let's say your vivid vision in the finance bucket is, I want to gain 3K of passive income in 3 years. That means you have to add $1,000 a month to your portfolio this year, right? Let's using $60,000. You need to target a 20% cash on cash return to get there, right? So now we're just kind of we're reverse engineering it, right? By year to quarter to month to week, right? So that's the year goal. Then let's go to the quarter. Okay, if I need to add $1,000 a month to my portfolio, then I need to go find a deal, one deal a quarter that can do $250 a month, right? And then so that's my quarterly goal. Then my monthly goals in the 4 months I have in the quarter. Let's say that I put in 20 offers, right? And half those are even worthy of looking of an offer, right? So I put in 20 offers, right? That means moving back toward a weekly goals, then I need to evaluate 40 deals a week, because half of those will be worth to put an offer in. So if I backtrack that even more to a weekly goal, then I need to evaluate 10 deals a week, thus equaling 40 deals that I evaluated a month. That means I can put in 20 offers that month. That means I can get, if I put in 20 offers each month, then by numbers of my conversion ratios, then every quarter I should be able to get one deal that has $250 a month. And if I do that and get one deal every quarter, it gets $250 a month in cash flow, and I'll be able to get that $1,000 a month, or $1,000 more a month in my portfolio this year. And if I'm able to do that every year for 3 years, I'll have 3K a month in passive income. So see how much less intimidating it is to say, all right, all you do is evaluate 10 deals a week, versus, I got to add $3,000 a month passive income next 3 years. No, just focus on the habits. I just got to do 10 deals a week. That's very doable. Very, very doable, right? So don't complicate it. Make it easy on yourself, right? And eventually, you get to your goal and you're like, wow, but all I did was focus on the small things and quantify it. And like I said before, if it's not on your calendar, it's not a priority, right? So make sure that it's on your calendar. This is a template I use of when I'm lost and booking out my calendar of like, all right, I've got too much free time. What should I do? Should I work on the university? Should I work on my investing? All right, my big 3 goals for the week. What should I be doing? Should I be evaluating deals right now? Do I have time for Jennie? Do I have time for myself, right? Do I have time to work out? Right? So all those things, you want to make sure that you're time blocking for yourself to make sure that you can go do it, and make sure that you are calendaring it so you can take action. And at the end of the day, like, I know it's tough to do it every single day and be consistent. And a mentor of mine once told me, just don't miss twice. Right? Yeah, maybe you're gonna have an off day. Maybe you're on vacation. Maybe you ate In-N-Out burger at midnight that previous night, and you're kind of feeling like you want to wake up at 6 a.m. to work out. That's totally cool, right? Just don't miss twice, right? Because you miss twice, then it becomes a habit in the wrong way. Bonus, Jen, you want to go to the bonus with your spouse?
Perfect. So bonus is if you guys put in the chat and then or sign up for the Facebook group, we're going to send the recording over, and then also our one thing goal planning couples retreat. So doing it with your spouse, making sure that you're aligned on these goals and making sure that you're spending that time together. So some of the things that we do, we designated Thursday for our date nights where we go over one of those topics in the Vivid Vision: family, finances, philanthropy, fitness. What do we want to really dive in? And then asking the question, and then really diving in and asking, okay, like, am I supporting you emotionally? Is that it? What else is there? Tell me more. And really dig in and asking versus being being like, oh, and defensive and like, oh, I'm not doing, like, I didn't take out the dishes because of this, this, and this, or like, I hate when you're nagging. So really hearing each other is really important, because this is a team effort, and having your partner or a family member on board is very, very important, because doing it alone is it's not fun. So being able to have someone else on board and seeing Christine hugging Alex, and like, that brings me so much joy. Hey, you guys are doing this together. And I know Eric and Marianne, you guys are in different rooms, but like, how much love that you guys have for each other. And Cody, I don't know your girlfriend's or your partner's name, but just you guys bantering back and forth, like, see how much fun you guys are having learning together. So get a partner on board, whether it's a sibling, or we have some people connecting more with their mom or their dad and investing on this journey together too. So that's one of the things that we do. And then just some of the example of questions that we ask: is our marriage headed in the right direction? We just got married, so hopefully it's definitely headed towards.
Go up from here, right?
And one of the things we always say, it's like, oh, I do love you more every day, like more and more every day. Like back then, I didn't think that was a true thing, but the love that we have together, because we're accomplishing things together, is so beautiful. And the number one drivers of divorce is usually finances and people who are not really aligned. So how can we really align on finances, setting our passive income goals, knowing that we have money put aside for our future college, kids' college education, being able to pay for our parents' medical bills once they get sick. Like if a natural disaster happens, like we have money to cover for that. So being able to make sure that we don't ever fight about finances. And are we growing closer? And is the relationship maturing? Are we meeting each other's emotional needs, physical needs? And great question is, what do you need from me this year? What do you need from me today? And one of the things that we always strive and like listen to and really follow, I love, is like the 5 love languages book. And it's like understanding, like, whether you're acts of service, physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, or gifts, like what is that value that you need, and how does your partner want to show that love? And same within the team environment as well too. So this can be translated in your family life, in your team environment, and just really transfer a lot of great skills that will make you a lot happier of a person. Great. And some of the questions, we have some current students here and here, but we know this is a public event for everyone, but a lot of people are like, hey, I'm stoked. I'm really excited to take action, but I need someone to help guide me and coach me through this. So that's where how to get involved. We have created a platform, a community, and a tribe called Zen Coast University. You can go on zencoastuniversity.com and look and learn more about from our other students. We had an amazing retreat in Yosemite where we went through a lot of vulnerabilities, sharing what our fears are, and doing some fun stuff as well too, like jumping into a waterfall. We're going to Utah in January, hitting the slopes and seeing some of our projects that we're building. And then Zen Coast Homes is our Bay Area real estate sales side. So if you're in the Bay Area looking to start your first house hack or buy an Airbnb, we're here to help you. Our amazing team is here to help support. We have partners all around the country that can help you with your goals here too. So if you want to get involved and set up a call with us, go on zencoastuniversity.com and book a call with us for next steps.
Hey guys, and I know we went through a lot of information today, and I hope you guys got a lot of value out of that. And for me, like always doing these kind of sessions, like it gets me pumped up, inspired, just to go run through a freaking brick wall. Not that I'm going to do that, but it feels like I could. So if you're feeling excited, if you're feeling inspired, if you're feeling overwhelmed, maybe completely normal, right? All the things that I say is like, you want to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that is where the biggest growth is going to happen. The worst thing that you can do in a session like this is nothing, right? You already invested the time today. Like I want to ensure that you guys do that one thing is just at least gain momentum, go out and take action. And whether it'll be with us, with just finding a time with your spouse to go, talk about your goals together and really have those deep sometimes hard conversations, but in the long run, they're fantastic because it helps you grow even more. And that's what we do at Zen Coast too, is we are a community of people that helps you get to your vision faster by giving you that roadmap, giving you the tools, giving you the strategies, so you can surround yourself with other like-minded people that can keep you accountable and can keep you inspired, so it keeps your energy up, so you can build that foundation for your mindset, right? So that you can empower yourself, to give you the confidence to go take some massive action and not be fearful of, what's next? How do I do that? Like the fear of even taking action. So, if you are an action taker, if you're growth oriented and you want to give back, give us a call, right? If you want that roadmap, right? I know right now we're not doing any more enrollments for this year, but we're taking calls for interviews for next year, and we open that up. So Audrey will put that link in the chat if you guys want to have a conversation, and love to get to know each and every single one of you guys one-on-one anyways, because that's what I love doing anyways. So I look forward to chatting with you guys on a one-on-one basis. If you guys sign up for with a call on the link below. But I wanted to spend some time. I know we're past our time right now, but I promised you guys at the beginning that we would stay on as long as we needed to answer any questions. So I want to make sure that we get all your guys' questions answered. So I'll go through the chat first, and then once we're done with that, anyone can just chime in and we can go from there. But I think we left off at I think Caitlin's question about recommendations on finding a lender. Great question. I'm sure there's a lot of lenders even on this call right now, but what I love doing is, I love talking about what you gotta understand. What is the result of this property? If I'm going to burn it, I'm going to be out of it in a month or a year, then do I want a really good loan on the front end? No, maybe I want like a 5-year AM or something like that on the front end, because I know I'm going to refinance it. But if I do that, I know that I don't want to have any prepayment penalties. What I typically find is that you're gonna get the best rates from like these big banks, US Bank, Wells Fargo, things like that, for 30-year AM, and they're non-recourse loans, which are great, which means that they can't go after your personal assets if you default and foreclose. But what I also find is that local banks are great as well, where if you find, I worked a lot with the Alabama Credit Union, because they're very flexible with me on my terms and my conditions. They have great rates, they're great terms for me. I've worked with them for a long time now on a lot of transactions, so we work well together. So I would always say, hey, start at the end. What is the goal of this property I'm trying to buy, and then what kind of lender works best for me from there. All right, Catalina, you asked, what is the very first step to take to analyze a market? Okay, so this could be a whole session on this, and I actually did a session on this a month ago. So if you go to the Facebook group, you go back to the last live session, and Audrey, maybe if you can tag Catalina on that session, I'll go through, what is the first step? How do you actually analyze a market? But to give you a short answer and quick synopsis on this call is, yeah, you always want to start first with your vision and your criteria. All right, what's my criteria, right? Because you got to understand, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? Am I going for appreciation, right? If I'm going for appreciation, hey, great market, California, great, Austin's great, right? But if you're going for cash flow, hey, you ain't gonna buy in the Bay Area unless you're Airbnb. So you got to know what that looks like. Also, you got to know your own financial situation. What's my DTI or my debt to income? How much cash do I have in hand? What's my income and expenses right now? Right? And what am I trying to accomplish? That way you can then figure out, all right, from there, you can gather information, and this kind of goes to your question, Stephanie, about the market that best fits for you. What's the median home price? Does that fit into my budget? This is the market fit to what I'm trying to do based off the minimum rents there as well. So hope that answers your question. If not, watch the whole video. And if you still have questions after that, DM me privately. Happy to jump on a call with you as well. And then Stephanie, same thing. Where do you get our data? Where do we get our data? A lot of websites. BEA.gov is a website. Fred, you saw a lot of data points from today. That's a great website. Bestplaces.net is a great snapshot of every city. It shows population growth, it shows real estate growth, it shows job growth, or decline as well. BEA is a great one to see, like the GDP in an area.
I'm sorry, is it called BDA or BPA?
BEA. BEA.gov, right? And that's a great place to look at. And Audrey, if you can actually also tag Stephanie in that same video, I'll go through in that video where you can actually see how we use it. It's great to look at like gross metro product, which is basically the health of the economy in a metro area. So you can look at it and you can see somewhere like Detroit during during the recession in 09, you know, the market was like this, and all of a sudden, boom, tank, because it's so reliant on the automobile industry, right? So I love looking at not what a city has done in the great times, right? Because, you know, the last 5 years, every city's been like thriving, including Detroit. But what I like to see is, all right, during a bad time, can this city survive, right? Like a Dallas, Texas, or a San Antonio. The GDP didn't go much down. It was like, you know, it was like 09 happened, flat, and then back up, right? That shows me strength in market of recession proof, right? Because they have multiple industries there. They have good job growth, good population growth. It's not relying on just one market that will tank. And if that tanks, the whole market tanks. So BEA.gov, bestplaces.net. Those are two great resources for you to start. Once you go on the Facebook group, when Audrey tags you, you'll be able to see, you know, kind of more how to use it as well. All right.
Thank you.
Do you recommend a mortgage broker or lender for commercial multifamily? Yeah, I mean, depends, right? Good to have a mortgage broker. Like, they're going to charge you more points for sure, and a lot of upfront fees, right? So if you're cool with that, sure, they can always find you the great contacts. But, you know, my experience is, you know, working with local banks, local vendors, local credit unions, they've actually got me the best rates for multifamily. But with that being said, am I using a commercial broker to help me refinance a couple of these multifamilies? Absolutely, right? And you know, I'll weigh out once they come back with their terms and their conditions, like, you know, what best fits, right? If I got to pay, you know, 2 points to the broker or 2 points to buy down a loan and another point to the broker, is that going to be worth the extra, you know, $100, $500 I'm saving on my mortgage every month? I don't know. I'll have to weigh that out, right? So it is a mathematical equation at the end of the day. I will say this, you know, the last couple of investments that we made into multifamily, talked to broker, compared it to a credit union, and the broker was like, and he's a good broker. He's like, hey man, I can't match that, man. So I'd probably go with him if he's offering that, right? And that's a sign of a good broker. Like, hey, I can't help you. That's actually the best for what you're trying to do. All right. For investments in different states, how often do you guys visit cities or scouting properties? Okay, that's a great question, Summer. There are some properties that we have never been in, right? So, you know, but this is where the importance of your team comes into place. Having an awesome real estate agent, having an awesome property manager will go out there and actually be your boots on the ground for you, and your word or their word you trust. Now you got to build a relationship at some point too. So, you know, maybe the upfront of it is going out there, building relationships, getting that trust established. And then from there, never going back. And I also would say, hey, also size of deal too. I mean, multifamily apartment complex, some problem with going out there. We just did a cabin in Tennessee in Smoky Mountains for Airbnb, and I have never been there and I have no idea what it looks like. But I have a good team, right, that has seen it. So that just helps me do what I'm good at, right? Who, not how. Focus on what you're good at. Outsource things that you don't want to do. And sometimes I don't want to travel to the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. So, all right, JC, how would you compare online analysis tools such as AirDNA and Mashvisor versus other stuff? Looks like, yeah. So AirDNA is a good tool, right? I always take it as a baseline. So, you know, for this same example, like we use AirDNA to look at data points about, hey, what can we get? But, you know, my advantage was I talked to my property manager there too. And actually my partner in that deal is a property manager out there. And he's like, hey, cool, like AirDNA data says this, but AirDNA data is also 12 months aggregate, right? So it's the previous trailing 12-month aggregate. Doesn't mean it's happening in the last 3 months. So, you know, what my partner and I do, like we'll look at the AirDNA data. We'll actually have people actually, you know, consolidate that to view our initial analysis. But then if we say, hey, that checks our first box, then we'll go deeper into our property manager, right? And in this, you know, you don't have to partner with a property manager to get this kind of data. You can just have a trusted property manager that you're going to use and say, hey, cool, does this data match up to what you're seeing as well, right? That way you can call the bluff on the data or say, hey, cool, this data is validated by people who are actually doing this right now and what they're actually collecting.
And Caleb asked, how do you evaluate comparative opportunities in your deal search analysis? So we definitely do dive in a lot more in detail within Zen Coast University of like, what are the markets? How do we analyze the deals? What are the calculators and what are we using there? And what are the things that people might miss, such as like common area maintenance expenses, like shoveling snow or other things that you might not consider? We would coach you and guide you on this as well too. And there's only so many markets and single family, multifamily apartments that you can keep an eye on one at a time. So for us, like there's so many great markets out there. We have people investing in Ohio, we have Idaho, Minnesota, California, like even within California, Sacramento. So it's just really figuring out certain markets you would want to focus on and just focus on those areas and building a team from that. And going to Dustin's question is, it's more important for our team to build that team out there than necessarily what the market is. Because if I don't have a great team out there and I don't have a great property manager and a great like contractor and such, then I'm not going to build it, even though it might be a really great appreciating or a really great cash flowing market. So it's more so important to first figure out a team, figure out 3 to 5 markets that you might invest in. And tip is like search top 20 people or like that top 10, 20 cities that people are moving to. Look at U-Haul stats, look at areas where companies are moving to as well too. So those are the tips that we have, and just narrow down, like we could buy in all around the country, like in all 50 states if we wanted to, but we're not going to. It's like, okay, we have special niches, and now having people look and search for you on those deals. And just a reminder, Calvin was doing this full time. He just officially left right before we got married in November. So we've been able to scale from 37 units to 167 while he had a full-time job too. So that you guys can definitely do it too. And it just say, hey, I'm going to commit 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. And the things that we do is like, we're limiting like our time on social media. So if you just count, like look at your app of what, like how much time you're spending on certain apps. And it's like, okay, I'm on Instagram for like an hour, or TikTok, or like I'm watching a movie. It's like, instead of watching Netflix every single night, if I dedicate 1 hour per night to learning this and sharpening my skill sets, how much further will that get for me? And to continue on Dustin's questions for out of area investments, how did you assemble your team? In what order? Did you choose a property first or your team first? So it's a mix where one of your team is important. There's going to be a lot of people, but the core 4 team is going to be your property manager, your real estate agent, and your contractor and your lender. So for us, like what we're looking at is first agents and brokers to find us the deals, and then talking and getting referrals from them. Who do you know are great property managers? And we're doing it coincidingly. We're asking the property managers, who are some great agents who can find some deals? Can you find some deals as well? We're asking and then who do you know for contractors? And we asked our contractors as well, like who else? Like asking for those resources. We got our cleaners, we got like referrals from our cleaners and inspectors for our contractors. So it's talking to a few people at a time and figure out, okay, is this an area that makes sense? And are these people on pace with my level of like how I want to communicate with? And like Calvin and I have different styles of investing as well too, where Calvin's a talker. For me, I'm more straight to the point. If someone is talking to me and like asking about my day and like how the weather and like all this is for like 20 minutes and shooting the shit, that's not my style, but that's Calvin's style. So figuring out who is a good agent for you, because we might refer you a good agent, but you might realize you don't like their style. And that happened with a lender where there's a lender who like wanted to go through the whole application over the phone and go through like everything for 2 hours with me. And Calvin loves that. But for me, it's like, just send me an app online really quick that I can do it in 15 minutes on my own time. I don't want to be on the phone.
Damn, Jennie, call me out. Damn, we got to talk about our marriage and our goal setting thing. What do I need? I need some emotional support.
We'll go over that on our Thursday date night tomorrow. Perfect. And then Audrey and Dan, in your program, do you have mentors? who will be helping us along the way with creating an LOI, reviewing a deal, negotiating tactics. Those are definitely questions. Like we have special coaches within your pods. So our pods are between 5 to 8 people within a pod that you're close with, and you're sharing these resources with each other. And we have some of our senior students who have been through the program for a whole year, and they become mentors. And like you can call Jay up and he'll answer any questions, give you references for who to get for a home equity line of credit, who to go for a VA loan. So that's why we created a community to share all these resources around, because it's a quote, if you haven't heard it, if you want to go fast, go at it alone, but if you want to go far, go at it together. So we want to move far together, and having 100 plus people and building our community will be able to shift us to be able to level out the playing field a lot faster and be able to hit our goals a lot faster there too.
Yeah.
How many properties did you buy in order to feel comfortable paying for college? That's definitely a great question. So we don't have kids yet and all of that, but just like even treating for like one property, it's like, hey, even if it's like one investment, like that one, if I just bought that one investment, put 50K into it, I know that that's going to appreciate, and the tenant's paying it down, that can pay for one kid's college education. So it could just be one, but I can still use that and keep that property, in case study number 1. And then once my kids are in college, we pay for the tuition 4 years, the tenants are still paying rent, the appreciation's still going up. And let's say if mom and dad like suddenly like need medical expenses, healthcare, we can use that same property to be able to pay for medical expenses. So it could be one, but I think for us, like we just like the bug, and it's just like we like the challenge of like going into new and more deals. And why my goal for next year is buying a center with a Target in it. Great. So those are the questions in the chat. Any other questions you can ask live. We'll be here for the next 10 minutes. And even if it's not a question, like would love to just get some feedback of what you learned. And my love language is words of affirmation. So anything that you've learned or appreciated, would love to hear that feedback too.
I'll go first. I like the action plan. I was actually on the call with my sister. It's like, I need a performance coach, not a therapist. So that's giving me like a general idea of like how should I approach this new upcoming year.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie. So we have our coaches, we have amazing coaches. One of the minimum criteria for our coaches is 20 deals and investments that they've gone through. So they've gone through the ups and downs of investing in real estate. So if you guys know of anyone else that has done 20 plus deals, let us know, because we're looking to expand our coaching community. Would love to hear from you, Sarah.
I was actually just typing in the chat right now. I just think this is so insightful. I'm very new to the real estate business, so I will be joining Zen Coast when I'm ready to actually fully invest, but I'm just so thankful to be here.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out. And I know you reached out to me, I think via Instagram back then. So I love seeing your journey along the way too.
Yeah, I'd love to get some feedback from Chad, man. Chad, what's going on, dude? I haven't seen you in a minute, dude. Hope everything's been well with the boys and your health.
Yeah, things are going good. It's been a few months, so the new one is just over here, keeping an eye on him. So, but I appreciate you guys and your vulnerability and your honesty and genuineness when it comes to just sharing your story and your passion for people and kind of trying to be that rising tide, and so I guess my question is like, what's your guys' timeline you think for this next year when you start opening up or expanding your enrollment? I guess I don't know what you so I understand you guys have reached where you want to be right now, where you're comfortable with right now, and so just kind of what you think that looks like for you guys.
Yeah, we'll probably start taking interviews for our February pod is when the next one is, because we just filled out our January one. So yeah, we do pods every month, but February will be the next one.
And Audrey and Dan would love to hear from you guys. And congrats on the baby. Hope to meet baby Daniel soon.
Yeah, he's playing right now. No, this was great, you guys. Audrey and I, we actually just closed on a second property today, single family. But part of the reason why we're here is just because we want to get into apartment complexes and multifamily. So I'd say, Calvin, what you shared about the Tennessee property, that definitely caught my eye. So that's really everything that we want to learn right now. So super excited.
Yeah, Dan, I remember you talking about that too, man. And I think you typed in negotiations, LOIs, deal review, 100%, man. It's fantastic when you have multiple people being able to look at one deal and say, hey, these are 3 different ways that we can do a deal. And I actually just went over with my pod on a commercial deal that we're like, all right, this apartment complex, there are 3 different ways that we can even just structure the terms on this deal. Which way do you guys think is the best way? And I kind of threw him a curveball. I was like, it's a combination of 2 of them that we combined. Right, where we're actually doing seller financing and we're doing a loan where, the seller financing will be in second position, loan will be in first position, and our money down on that is almost nothing. I think we're putting $100K down on a $1.7 million deal. Right now you're talking about like, how can you make your money work for you fast? How can you make your money sprint for you versus, doing the normal way, which would be, putting $100K down to buy a $500K property. Right, you just quadruple that. So absolutely, man. Pumped to talk to you more about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
I have one question, sorry. What are all the resources you utilize to be able to find like, there's going to be this many new developments in the city. There's, this big company that's moving into the city, just so we have a better idea of like, okay, like the city's about to blow up.
Okay. This is going to be a crazy tool. It's pretty underground. Not many people have heard of it. It's called Google. You Google a city and you say, all right, what's going on in Indianapolis, right? And you just start to see, right? Like, boom, like these people are going here, these people are going here, these people are going here. And that'll help a lot. And you can always just look at announcements too, just job, even somewhere like Indeed, right? Can be more low key, or Indeed, you'll see all the job postings and you can see like a major player there, Kaiser Permanente, Amaza, they'll start posting a lot of jobs because they're hiring much. Amazon, right? Then you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like there's a good wave of jobs coming here.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
This is maybe out of the blue, but I was thinking doing real estate investing like out of the country. So I'm wondering if I'm trying to find like confidence in how to go about that.
Yeah. And what country do you have in mind?
Maybe Canada, Mexico.
Mexico, yeah. So, I mean, full transparency, we have no experience in out of country investing at this point. We do out of state investing, but out of country, we're not there yet. But I know the things that I've talked to some friends about that do it. You just gotta watch it for the lending environment, right? The lending environment is a little bit different out there. So, like for example, Mexico, you're probably not gonna get as good a loan out there than you are here, right? You're probably gonna have to put more down payment in there. You have legality issues as well, Airbnbs. Different things, cartel in Mexico, at least it's like, you gotta watch out for that too. So there's a lot of stuff that, I can't say I want to confidently tell you advice on, but if you do want to know more, obviously can link you up to some friends that have done it out there.
Thank you.
And just another thing to note is like the tax implications of it as well too, because you are in the US and like that's the same government, so you get the tax benefits if you're buying here. But like if you are investing in Mexico and or other things, you have to figure out, okay, am I going to be double taxed in Mexico and here as well too? So those are some of the considerations when investing out of country, why like we haven't really explored outside right now. We've gotten a lot of opportunities in like Costa Rica and other things, which we definitely do have on our vivid vision. Like we want to buy a villa in Barcelona just for a vacation home for Airbnb, which would be definitely going to happen. And that's just something where it's more for like enjoyment, but we don't know what the loan perspective, because being an outside area, if you don't live in the area, it is harder to get a loan. So we work with a lot of foreign foreign people to buy properties here as well, but there are certain restrictions. For example, I know China, it might have lowered, but you can only move $50,000 into investments per year to America from China, for example. So that's something where there are limitations, and countries want to keep their money within their country too. So that's another factor. And Ashley and Chad would love to hear from you guys.
Well, so it was an interesting question I asked Chad, and I don't know if it's too personal, but how is this stuff affecting your guys' credit score when you're like always taking out all of these things? Like, is there a strategy around your credit score, and how's that doing?
Oh, the question. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, when you're trying to get like a lot of loans, right? They'll obviously have a lot of credit score pulls from that, but you know, you might hit for like a little bit, couple months, then you're back, right? So just as long as you're paying your stuff off. So, I mean, I'll be fully transparent. My credit score is like 740, but sometimes it's like 720, right? And it's kind of like that it drops a little bit when I'm in a bunch of loans or I'm about to like look at stuff. But you know, to be honest, like as long as your credit score is good enough to get loans, like you should be fine.
Yeah. So each of you can have 10 mortgages underneath each of your names. Are you rotating that, or is it because of maybe credit scores and financials for that purpose, or how do you guys determine that?
Yeah, so we're kind of rotating with our investments, like, okay, who's going to buy what here, and like based off of their debt to income ratio. But being qualified and being able to build a credit line and paying that off as well too. So it's also important to ask your bank, hey, can you increase my credit limit? Because credit scores are tricky. It's based off of like let's say if you have a $5,000 credit limit and you use like $3,000 of that every month, you're leveraging 60%. So like one hack that I did when I was working at Oracle, I was just like, just tell the bank that you make $300,000, even though you make 100K, and then they don't check. And then it's like, okay, you increase your credit limit to $30,000. So you're spending $3,000 out of $30,000 of limit. So it's a 10% there. So they want you to see some movement of the credit, but not a high amount, a high balance consistently. So being able to increase that, that's why like yes, mine fluctuates 720, 740 as well. I've had 780. It's gone down to 702 as well. There was a point I was at 1690 something, but it's like, do you want to have like an 800 credit score and own only one property? Or do you want to have a 700 credit score and have $20,000 of passive income coming in? So those are just things to see, okay, what is that risk and that fear of like, oh no, I don't want it to hit my credit. Great question. I think that's the last question here. And
oh wait, I think Dan had one more question. So when joining the team, how long do we have access to mentors? Is there? Oh yeah, you have a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's different tier programs between 6 months and a year, but I think Dan, the one you were chatting with, Calvin, is for the year.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, have an amazing night. It's off for dinner for us. And
if we don't talk to you guys, happy holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see you guys soon, hopefully. And remember, guys, go take action. Let's go run through a freaking brick wall together and make 22 special, guys. So
yes.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.